Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What's the most messed up thing you experienced on a job? Be me. I am a 20-year-old Croatian student, looking for a summer job to get some cash before uni starts. Friend that lives on one of the islands tells me a captain of a tourist ship is looking for crew members. Always liked boats.jpg. Learn there's only 2 people working, captain and his buddy. Buddy is good for nothing dipshit. Only got the job cause he's the captain's friend. Captain is an experienced sailor. Teaches me everything. Work 12 hours every day. Sometimes alone because my dipshit buddy is always drunk or hungover and doesn't even show up. Pay isn't much. The job is hard as shit since I do 90% of the work. The captain has to steer the ship, so can't help me. I still love every minute of it. When I get free time, I talk with tourists and try to score QT pie. Get built because of constant hard work. Look like Popeye on steroids. Best job ever. MP4. Last week on the ship. Give the captain notice so he can find a replacement. Cap finds a fat, inexperienced kid to replace me and asks me to teach him everything. Haven't seen dipshit buddy on the ship for a week now. Kid is basically useless, but he's got heart. Teach him how to tie the ropes after leaving port. Kid just can't seem to get the hang of it. One day we sailed out on strong winds. Cap puts me on horde control so tourists don't get jumpy. Kid has to tie ropes. He doesn't. PNG. About 6 nautical miles off the coast, a tourist knocks the rope over while nobody's watching. Rope gets tied up into the propeller, and the ship stops. We're adrift in buttfuck nowhere while the wind is wrecking our shit. Cap tells me to go under and cut the rope free. I don't know how deep it was where we were, but the water was dark as shit as seen from the ship. Nevertheless, it was that or we drifted for hours or sank due to wind. Take off my shirt and jump into the freezing hell water. Cap throws me the mask and the knife. Swim to the propeller and start cutting. Constant feeling something is watching me. Go out for air. Rope is thick. Dive back and look into the deep. I shit you not, something is down there. Panic and start cutting as fast as I can. Look down while cutting. F my life. Some shit is still moving down there. And it's fucking big. Cut my hand cause I wasn't watching, but the rope finally snaps. Feel like the fucking Cthulhu itself is about to snatch me. Rip the rope from the propeller and swim to the surface. Don't even use the stairs. Climb onto the ship using an anchor.
Anon, WTF, you are bleeding. Are you okay?
Cap looks at my face like he's seen it before and takes me to the ship hold. Tourists cheering me like I saved the fucking country or something. I can't even get my breath back because of fear. Cap patches me up and gives me the rest of the day off. Says he and the kid will take care of the horde. Doesn't even ask what happened. Next day I quit. Cap is sad but says he understands. Fast forward 2 years. Never stepped foot on a ship after. Massive fear of the depths. Can't swim more than 100 meters from the shore before anxiety kicks in. Still have nightmares about it. Nobody believes me when I tell them. Maybe now I understand Cap's buddy. Maybe that's why he's drunk all the time. TLDR, worked a summer job on a ship. Had to fix my replacement's fuck up. Saw a big fuck off thing in the deep. Never went on a ship again.
I used to work at a park with a lake. One day a dude drowned after falling out of a paddle boat. The death itself wasn't fucked. What was is that he was there with a school group and his family came rather quickly. So I got to see the human drama of young people coming to grips with death for the first time. One of the friends of the deceased tried to fight with the park rangers because he thought they didn't try hard enough. They tried the best they could, and he had to be dragged away by police. Another girl had told the deceased to wear a life jacket, he didn't, and blamed herself for not pressing the issue hard enough. One of the guys who ran the boat rentals heroically dove into the lake to pull up a girl, also without life jacket, that was in the boat with the deceased when they fell. He no doubt saved her life. When the family of the deceased came, they almost immediately began wailing and howling in remorse, forming a tight circle to provide some measure of support. A crowd had gathered to watch the police fish the poor guy out of the lake. Then a fight broke out because someone was smoking and another took offense. There isn't really an end to this story. They took his body out of the lake and then everyone moved on as best they could.
I'm an old friend originally from Belarus, although I live in the USA now. I got my first job under the table in the early mid-90s. I was 12 to 13 and my job was being a helper in my father's barber shop. Mostly sweeping up hair, cleaning the bathroom, taking out trash, that sort of thing. We lived and our shop was near the border with Poland. Lukashenko had just come to power and the Soviet Union had dissolved. These were very difficult times for everyone. Mass starvation, poverty, etc. These problems still exist there today. At the barber shop with Papa, we only really get the same few regulars. Most people cut their own hair or have a family member do it. Barbershop was really something only possible during the Soviet Union. It's getting dark. I'm told to clean up the shop, take out trash, then come home. Papa leaves me alone there to go drink by himself somewhere. Finish my chores, lock the door, and begin walking home. This is a partly rural area. Not exactly like the countryside, but everything is very spaced out. Fuck, forgot garbage. Turn around to go back. When I noticed Lotta with no lights had been driving behind me. Actually, I believe they are coasting. There are no sounds of engine, but we are going slightly downhill. Since I'm going back, I'm not going uphill. Lotta passes me by and I feel at ease. Lotta gets to the bottom of the hill, cuts the engine on and turns around. They pull up beside me. It's a man and a woman. The man driving asks me if I want a lift. Tell them no thanks. It's not far and they are fucking creeping me out. They get offended that I told them they are creeping me out. They yell at me, tell me they hope I slip and crack my head open. Tell them to fuck off and cut through the grass and trees, to get off the road. I take a shortcut through a wooded area but will link back to the street on the other side. When I get there, the Lotta from before is idling on the road. I'm getting sort of pissed. I came from home with an alcoholic father and was sort of a gopnik. Not really, but I was used to confronting adults and getting beaten by adults. It didn't scare me so much. Walk up directly to the car and ask the man, "Are you friendly? Why do you follow me? You want to fuck me? Why don't you fuck your sister or whoever is in there with you and leave me the fuck alone?" The man is holding a gun or something that looks like a gun. It's dark and I can't see very well. He says,
"You can have a good night or your last night. If you get in the car, we will drive around a bit and have some vodka. But if you don't, I'll kill you right now."
I've never been confronted with a gun before. I don't know what to do, but I know there's no way I'm getting in this fucker's car. I say, okay, I'll get in and act like I'm going along. I go to the passenger side and the woman gets out to let me in. When she gets out of the car, I kick her in the leg as hard as I can and start running. She yelped and fell over. By the time they knew what happened, I was back in the trees. It's like a circular wooded area surrounded by roads, but if I can get to the center where they can't see me, they won't know which side I come out on. Wait in the middle a while, then come out the side nearest the shop. Sprint from woods up road to shop, unlock door and jump inside. Lock door and stay there the whole night. In the morning, my father beat me for never coming home. I tried to explain what happened and he got even more mad, saying I was using what I saw in the news to make up a lie. Apparently they had gone around the whole village asking any kids they saw to give a lift. Reports of them making threats, etc. Several children had gone missing the past few months. It is assumed the children were eaten in response to the mass starvation. Unless you were like my family and relatively wealthy by the standards of the day, it's likely you didn't eat much if at all.
I used to work at a hotel where a crazy rich dude would show up every few months or so until his family found him. I always thought that they knew where he was but just let him get his spell out of his system before coming to get him. Dude was legit crazy. Thought he was the prophet Elijah. He used to preach from his balcony to people down at the pool. Not once did anyone ever complain, because what he was saying was always equal parts true, entertaining, and thought-provoking. But that's not the crazy part. One day, this dude in a business suit comes walking in, and he looks like hell. He was gray. I thought he was having a heart attack or something. He asked where the payphones were. I told him they were right around the corner from the desk and asked him if he was okay. He said he was fine and off he went. About 5 minutes or so later, the desk phone rings. It's this guy who introduces himself as a doctor and asks if we have a man passed out in our lobby. I immediately think of the gray dude and tell the doctor I'm going to check. Dude is indeed passed out on the floor, but the worst part is that he's puked up black blood. I haul ass back around to the phone and confirm he's passed out. Doc tells me it's very likely his patient has just had an ulcer rupture in his stomach. He tells me to stay with him and make sure he doesn't choke, and there's an ambulance already on the way. I go back around and roll the dude on his side, check his breathing, etc. But as I'm doing this, Elijah comes walking in. He takes one look at the dude, then kneels down next to him, places his hand on his head, and proceeds to speak in tongues. And it's not like that bullshit babble holy rollers do sometimes. This has structure. This feels like a real language, just one I've never heard. The hair on the back of my neck starts standing up. And then the dude sat up looking perfectly fine. Elijah tells the man that he has been healed by the power of God.
Any examples of some of the kind of stuff you would say?
One that always stuck with me. The scriptures tell us that Adam and Eve fell from grace and were cast out of paradise. I am here to tell you they carried paradise with them. It remained in their hearts, only obscured in the darkness of their sin. They carried it with them as we carry it with us to this day. We walk the gardens of God's paradise as blind men, lost in a darkness that can be lifted by His grace. That innocence can be yours. To be a child again, all anyone must do is return to the Father. I think about the beauty of that pretty much every day. The simple purity of its truth.
Be me. Working at a coffee shop, right off the highway in a small cozy town. One day I was working with another person, she's in the back and I'm up front. Slow early afternoon, not a lot customers, 3 people in the shop at the time when suddenly, this dude limps in looking like he hadn't slept in days. You could smell his BO from the moment he walked in. Clothes crusted in questionable stains. Carrying a black briefcase and backpack. His left leg was wrapped up in what looked to be a bloody torn-up t-shirt, obviously broken. He's not stumbling like on drugs or drunk, but you could tell he'd seen some shit recently and he winced in pain every time he took a step. Dude walks up to my counter. Him in a thick Middle Eastern accent, shakily.
Can I please have water?
Me, yes. Give dude water. Dip in the back and quickly tell a coworker about this dude. She wants to call the police and I'm like, no way, he needs a doctor. Walk back up front. He's sitting at a table, I sit with him. Ask if he's okay, if he's hurt, if he needs help act. He looks at me like how a hurt, hungry puppy would look at a big meaty slab of steak. Dude even tears up a bit. Meanwhile, other customers are visibly anxious watching the interaction. I ask him if needs a doctor. Dude insists he's fine, thanks me for asking. Asks if I know of taxi services or hotels. Look up some places for him. He didn't have a phone or computer or anything on him. We shoot the shit a bit, discover he travels for work, is from Iraq. Won't tell me his name. I give the dude a muffin. He smashes that muffin like it was the last muffin on earth. Dude hangs out for about an hour until his taxi arrives. Before he leaves, he comes up to the counter and thanks me again.
You treated me with such kindness. I wish more Americans were kind like you.
Pulls out $10 and puts it in the tip jar. Me, well thanks pal, safe travels, please be well. He leaves, never to return during the time I worked at the coffee shop. Later on, I heard a rumor about the tobacco shop by that coffee place I worked at being a front for terror-styled activities. The guy who ran that tobacco shop was from Saudi if I remember correctly. No idea if there's any merit to that rumor. I wonder if it was true, if dude was involved in any way, and what happened to fuck him up like that. I think about him sometimes and hope he's doing okay.
Be me. Industrial landscaper with a crew of the boys. Get to the new site. We're putting a garden on the roof of a 3-story building. Julio, let's get to work. Start cranking up the dirt and filling the enclosed areas. Bounding walls about 3 feet high will be holding in everything we plant, with taller bounding walls for the bigger trees in their own sections. Things going good. The plants arrive. We put them up to the roof so some of our guys can start planting while we finish the rest of the dirt. Get about 30% done filling in the dirt. Arrive at the next area to fill in and take a look. There's a fucking sunroof where the dirt is supposed to go. Talk to the foreman.
Oh yeah, we thought more natural light would be good, so we put a few sunroofs in.
There's a fucking sunroof where thousands of pounds of dirt are supposed to go. There are fucking sunroofs in every area where the garden is supposed to go. Except where we started. Can't do shit. Finish planting what few bits we could. Foreman comes up and puts some tarps over the sunroofs and says it's good to go. WTF.exe. Spend days standing on a roof watering plants in their pots. Because we have no space to plant them. All our plants die. The trees we were going to put in arrived. Can't lift them up to the roof because there is no space. Because all the plants that were supposed to be planted are filling the roof now. Trees stuck at the site entrance. Everybody complaining that they can't get vehicles and are out because of the fucking trees. On the roof. It's just us landscapers relaxing. Having a laugh with the boys. The contract covers this shit so we all still get paid. Days of watching a different array of structural experts walking up to the roof. staring at the sunroof, scratching their chins, then disappearing and not fixing anything. Good times, man. Okay, there was the one time that a guy got knocked off a roof onto frozen dirt and got his shit fucked up. But this story is way better. Work a warehouse job in a rough area. Been there for 5+ years. I work in an isolated area with basically no direct supervision because I can be trusted to do the work. Go to work during the middle of winter during the holiday break from Christmas to New Year's. It was one of those freak Midwestern winters that hit below zero after a week of heavy snowfall. Building was dead quiet. Out of about 300 employees, only 20 or so people were needed to staff the graveyard shifts during this time. Some maintenance people, but mostly lucky people who liked easy overtime money. I made my way to my department. Almost all the lights were turned off and I made a shortcut through the offices. Was turning lights on as I entered the rooms because I didn't give a shit about how much money the company wanted to spend on electricity. After making a right turn into a hallway, I see a man curled up into a ball near a janitorial door. Skinny white dude, white scraggly beard, wearing a wife beater and shorts. It could not be more than 40 degrees at most, even inside the inner part of the warehouse. The guy quickly stood up and bolted. He had a weird gait that I could only describe as similar to Torgo from Monos. Despite this, he moved fairly quickly. I followed him all the way towards an exit door normally used by truckers, which he slammed into, sort of spun around in place, and then kept running out into the dark of the night. While I didn't notice it before, going by the prints he left, he was totally barefoot. Tracks vanished near the barbed wire fence that surrounded the building. Up on top there was a complete mess of torn hair and iced over blood. Like it sincerely looked like someone lost a fight with the barbed wire. No blood on the other side of the fence, or any tracks at all. Naturally, I alert the only supervisor in the building and lead him out to the crime scene. He's skeptical at first but freaks out, calls his boss, who then calls his own boss. Interior of the building has no cameras except near where the trucks park. But there was an external camera that caught the runner on camera about halfway into his sprint across the frozen parking lot. Police arrive within 2 hours of being called. They're perturbed as well. Samples are collected. I get a commendation from my boss's boss. Although I know they were secretly worried that the guy who was sleeping rough inside the building might have been an employee. But there was no obvious match to the guy in the video. The main concern, obviously, was that of theft, but there was nothing missing in any department unless you want to consider people using too much toilet paper to be theft. About a month passes by. No word on the guy's identity or a police report trickles down to me. Eventually, I ended up talking to a guy in upper management, who I was personally friends with. He told me off the clock that the hair and blood found on the fence was identified as belonging to a raccoon. Same goes for the slight trace of blood the police had found in a footprint. The case was closed as the whole incident was just a case of a homeless person finding their way into the warehouse during the middle of winter. The company didn't even install new safety measures, and the whole weirdness was a dead topic by late January.
That's fucked up. Dude, I think the guy was a shapeshifter.
One thing I forgot to mention was that I did not follow him directly outside, and it took me about 10 minutes to find where the tracks he left led to, because I wasn't about to race out into the freezing cold to catch the guy, and walking on snow and iced over concrete is something I take my time with. The hair and blood coming back as a raccoon is just as strange to me. Because even if one wanted to think that the guy up and vanishing and the blood and fur were unconnected, a raccoon being getting tangled up in barbed wire in extremely cold weather and not dying is just as fantastical to me as a vanishing crackhead. The whole encounter is the only truly inexplicable thing that I've ever been involved in. And I still don't know what to make of it. If I was good at drawing, I'd do my best to come up with a sketch of the guy, but he looked pretty much like any dude you'd see muttering to himself at a bus stop. When I find the time, I probably will try and see if I can get copies of any photographs that were taken or even the actual security footage from the police department involved, if they still have it or if they would even bother with requests from non-journalists.
Be me. Have a super cozy newspaper route. Working hours are basically midnight to 4 or so, depending on how fast I am. My route hits 2 massive subdivisions with some urban decay between them that I cut through to save time, instead of using the highway. Too young to realize urban decay doesn't just mean wow things look run down. Also too young to appreciate the implication of my city's high crime rate in the top 10. Normal night, passing through a forgotten commercial area. Nothing but empty and boarded up storefront. Streetlights are few and far between. Pass by a parked car. As I look back at it in my rear view mirror, its headlights turn on and it turns back onto the road. Fast. While they must be in a hurry, hayek. They speed up, cut in front of me, and slam on the brakes. I'm still skidding to a stop while 3 people in hoodies have jumped out of the vehicle and are running at me. Brain starts working for the first time in my life. Instead of trying to cut around them and drive deeper into the abandoned area, I put it in reverse and hit the gas. Turn off of the road I'm on into the previous street while in reverse, then putting back into forward while I'm panic dialing the police. They've gotten back into their vehicle, completed a U-turn, and are driving straight at me at this point. Avoid getting T-boned by the skin of my teeth. They managed to scrape my rear bumper. I'm going like 60 on some rundown street and they're maybe a foot off my bumper. Now noticing their vehicle is pretty badly banged up as though it's been through several accidents recently. Tell the police dispatcher where I am in my direction. After a moment she lets me know they're a patrol about 6 blocks out. Not once but twice they try sneaking to the side of me and swerve into my rear tires. Once from either side and I barely dodge it. Running lights to get away from them. If it wasn't 2 a.m. we would have definitely caused an accident. Finally reach a cop car that stopped for a red light. I start hammering the horn. Instead of rear-ending me, the other car turns around. The cop does the same and pursues them. Let the dispatcher know what happened. Tell them I'm okay and that I'm going home. I contact the guy that handles the local routes. He's a pretty cool guy. Let him know what happened. Ask him if he can deliver the rest of my route tonight and take care of it for the rest of the week. He says sure, but he's also annoyed with me.
Didn't you listen? What do I say at night when you pick up your papers?
Stay on the highway if you can, and stay safe. I quit the job shortly after. I used to love driving around at night when the roads are empty. Now I can't stand it.
Work as a night guardian at a local brewery. They tell me that some teens are sometimes stealing beer barrels and that I need to either confront them. Fuck that, or call the police. I get handed a huge-ass flashlight, keys, and nothing else. Nothing happens for several weeks. One night I heard something out where the beer was stored. Go to look if I need to call the police. A bunch of teens, younger than me, 2 of them have smaller barrels with them. They talk quietly, not aggressive at all. I sent a message to the cops to come over and wait, watching them so I can tell the cops where they went if they leave before the police arrive. Suddenly one kid starts screaming while they are still talking normally. Throws his barrel of beer into another kid's face, stomps onto his head when he falls, swings for one of the others, then takes off into the woods, throwing away his shirt and, as I found out later, the rest of his clothes. The attacked kids survived, the one who got his head stomped on. Only barely, due to the police arriving and me calling the emergency. I stopped working there and weirdly enough, the papers wrote nothing about the entire thing. Creepy as fuck, and I'm not gonna lie. I've been in fights before, but seeing this guy just stomping his mate's head in, no mercy, not even a second of thinking beforehand, fucked me up big time, and I was at least 15 meters away.
Bump for a quality old X-style thread. Once I was walking in a deserted area at night and this car with a weird guy leaning out the window making a fucked up face drives by. And something about the look on the guy's face made me think there was actually something up, not just someone being weird. So I watch him and he makes a U-turn at the next intersection and drives back the other way, so at this point we're 100% orange stage. All I hit was a knife. He drives by again and something is obviously up. So I walk into a parking lot behind a building on his next pass. And the son of a bitch follows me, so I just sprinted, ran as far as I could, and I didn't see him again. I came up behind a short guy with long hair and started talking to him, and told him what had happened once it was clear he wouldn't care or think I was crazy since he was a bum or a bum-adjacent type of person. Figured safety in numbers, even if it's some random fuck, it's much better than being alone. I'm thin and an out-of-towner, so yeah, the guy probably didn't follow me to ask directions. Belarus Story reminded me of it, and the general fact that you should always watch for shit that doesn't seem right when you're alone walking at night. If someone like that can roll right up and surprise you, you're in a much worse situation.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember that all videos have been archived on the Odyssey page.